I'm here today to talk about NFTs and intellectual property and what this means to the idea of the metaverse. Um, Diving right in, the grid, the vast space in which we create this fully immersive three-dimensional virtual reality, utterly complete, photorealistic, persistent multiverse that we've all been dreaming of. It's no surprise that we're still imagining a metaverse that is drawn from decades old creative concepts. I feel very strongly that as someone who's been through many, many waves of different buzzwords, every time we implement a new, big, valuable, and useful creative idea, it stops being the thing we're aiming for. I would argue that right now, with all of us tuning in simultaneously to a real-time talk that I'm giving with photos and other people are showing videos, and we're all capable of talking to one another across the globe in real time, that's a multiverse by most decade standards. I love this in really real ways because I think the definition, the terminology we use is best done by historians from the future. They're going to tell us what this was, whether we did it right according to the terms that are generally accepted. And I love working at the beginning and in the development of these new spaces. I love the back and forth that we've been hearing in the talks today. And I know you all will come at me in the chat with. I'm really looking forward to your questions and answering them because we've been fighting about art and technology as humans since art and technology began. Are they useful? Are they valuable? Are they providing something real to us? And often that can even be something that's highly personal. And to one person, the answer is yes, and another is no. And in these discussions, that's where we create progress, where we create experiences in art and technology that are truly useful to us. So when we think about the multiverse today, if you are an old like me, you might think about Tron or fabulous cyberpunk novels from the 90s. If you're younger, you might think of Ready Player One, which depicts this massive multiplayer universe where every intellectual property is matched up with every other intellectual property, but it still feels like racing games and first-person shooters. All of these visions may be true, may be paths we want to move towards. But often when we talk about the metaverse, it's something that's coming that's going to be done to us, or is going to provide us these ideas, these experiences that it'll do something to us or that we can access, but we don't drive. I asked you not what the multiverse will be doing to you, but what should the metaverse do for you? What are the tools that are going to help you do something better? What are the experiences that you can build that are going to delight you, provide ease or convenience, or make something easier? And in the aggregate of all of these developments, where we'll start to build that multiverse that actually fits around everyone. It's an active process. And by the time we've done those things today, the metaverse will be something else in the farther future. Now, I say this with the perspective of having been working in the new media spaces for over a decade, let's say. And the one thing that's true about all these new experiences is the person at the center. And if there's one common truth for every audience member, is that they have the capacity to surprise you. They'll find a way to make something beyond what you've intended. That they'll be able to collaborate with you and innovate based on what you've provided in a way that is truly the delight of working in art and creating work in the entertainment industry, in, for me, the human experience, creating art together, sharing it, improving it, building off one another's work. That's what gets me up in the morning. So we like to talk about new technologies as though somehow the entirety of human history, legal, development, technology, like the rules that we've established for how we relate to one another no longer apply. That's just not true. And just because something is complex doesn't mean it's impossible. And these are themes that we see throughout really exciting projects that take people places and transport them and make people want to invest hours, days, months, years of their time inside these worlds, playing with them, imagining in them, creating communities, and building off of what those people, those fans, and those communities want, what they need. And that exchange is a beautiful and wonderful thing. And that's what I think about when I think about intellectual property franchises. I had the amazing opportunity to work on Tron Legacy. And this was a groundbreaking project, not just because of the visual components it could do, or the fact that storylines weaved across games and comic books and animated series and films for over 2 decades, but because this was an opportunity where remixing was celebrated in a whole new way, where not only were established artists invited to remix, but Walt Disney Music Group allowed for people to submit their remixes. I love when fans and story worlds can connect and co-create in whole new ways. I've worked on Pirates of the Caribbean, which is a global story where people got to see themselves for the first time in Disney theme parks in localized concepts, ways that we can tell stories about pirates in Southeast Asia, pirates in Europe. All of these wove their ways into different Disney parks, but also into the films themselves and in the much wider universe. I've been around different intellectual properties for a while now, how they're licensed, how they're built and constructed and planned over time, as well as how you can work with different intellectual property frameworks to do novel things that fit within the same platform, like what we've seen in Spider-Man No Way Home, when you can bring characters together in a storyline that makes sense. Even if you're working with different companies, everyone can benefit. My background also includes branding. It includes building technology for philanthropic environments. I've dabbled in commercial space tourism, and I've definitely spent time building XR frameworks. I love playing with artists who are experimenting at the edge of art and technology to build experiences that people will love. Again, going back to it, the common element of all of these experiences is a human audience. So let's talk a little bit about what we're doing, how NFTs can support your relationship as an artist, as a business owner, as an IP manager or owner, to connect with your project and to explore in new ways. So I'm director of story at Palm NFT Studio. We create experiences that publish onto the Palm Network, which is a highly sustainable network that is a decentralized blockchain sidechain on top of Ethereum with a proof of stake model that makes it 99.999 something % more efficient than other frameworks. And we build projects that go on top of that. We're a private company. We build on top of that bigger project network where lots of different companies build their own apps and experiences. There's a lot that we can argue about NFTs, blockchain, sustainability, and art. I look forward to that. Throw it in the comments. I will definitely respond. But I want to talk about what's going on in this space creatively from an audience perspective. And what I see as some of the core value and utility that we can explore as we explore building art and experiences on the blockchain, creating these spaces, using these new tools. So I'm going to start with kind of the most basic portion of building a blockchain-based experience, which is these NFTs. So this is my great giraffe NFT, giraffe with a monocle. I love it. It's a piece of art that speaks to me on a very personal level. I find it delightful when I look at it. Because I purchased it, I'm using it today. It's part of the contract in my purchase of this NFT that I can show it. I know I could do that with any JPEG of an NFT practically, but what I love about NFTs is that I've created a back and forth with the creator of this artwork. An NFT is a piece of art It's any digital asset, really, a JPEG, an MP4, but it's connected to a smart contract where how we agree to work together, the relationship and the agreement is clearly laid out. This means that I've created a direct contract with the artist who created this. And for me as a fan, I know what my rights are. I know what my responsibilities are to that. And I know how we expect to play together using this tool. And all of this is recorded on a blockchain, which is a public system. So we've got a piece of art, an agreement between the author and the user of the art, and the system where it's recorded that's public and open. So what's the big question here? It's really, why are all NFTs portraits of animals right now? Why am I only seeing bored apes and lazy lions and these sort of portraits that are usually kind of silly, zany, off the wall animals? Well, it's not just that this is a piece of art. This is something that can represent your participation in a bigger experience. When you're buying this piece of art, you're really participating in the concept of this bigger experience that's being built. Most NFT collections have a rollout or a white paper, like a business plan that's communicating what these collections plan to do and how you're going to be doing it with them. This is really exciting. It's this story that you get to participate in from the beginning. It's part of the biggest picture of an artwork and experience and play that we can have together as artists and audience. For me, this giraffe is something that I would use in my profile picture. It's something that would identify me in this collection, and I would use to commune with other giraffes. But the big idea is what's beyond that. So when we look at some of the most notable NFT experiences that are being built, we see big plans. We see choices, and we see big impact for what you do. One of the first projects that Palm NFT Studio worked on was The Currency by Damien Hirst. This project by the artist had 10,000 unique artworks with a varying degree of rarities, all based on these dot patterns. If you purchased one of these NFTs, you had to make a choice. Did you choose to purchase a physical piece of art for collection or an NFT that allowed you access? It allowed you to join this community of owners that is special. It provided you additional utility of access to different events and invitation to the broader experiences around this collection. You had 10 months to choose. And at the end, once you'd made your choice, the physical versions of the art that had been purchased where you chose that digital version were burned. And the digital versions for the people who had determined they wanted the piece of art in a physical format were destroyed as well. This experience was much bigger than a JPEG. It's much bigger than the sum of 10,000 parts. It's about the community that was created. It was about the conversations and the experience shared as a work of art in itself. And this experience can teach us a lot about how an artist can play with NFT owners and what owners and audiences are going to expect from projects in the future. I talked a little about roadmaps, but for the biggest NFT collections, they're developing themselves as multi-platform franchises would. They're thinking about not just these NFTs as access passes to social media environments or communities or even events, but how they're going to build these into games, how they're going to build these into wider opportunities for consumer products and merchandising. For original IP, there are a huge range of ways they can pursue this. A huge range of ways they can create the smart contracts that show audience members and fans what it is they can do when they have their participation token, this NFT that is giving them access to the universe and the project. Let's say you have an established IP. What does this mean for you? You know that you already have a massive number of fans, a huge audience. And for most intellectual property franchises, you do a significant amount of research and spend a significant amount of energy figuring out what your fans want, making sure that they're included, making sure that you're reaching out to them on a regular basis because they are investing hours of their lives, thousands of dollars. Like the amount of energy that we put into the story worlds that we love is phenomenal. And NFTs give us a new way to potentially connect, to create relationships between fans and invite them into our worlds. From an IP perspective, though, we like to pretend they're like, people love the idea that, again, a new technology wipes the slate clean on every business model and every agreement and every legal structure we've already done. The story of Spice DAO, a group that collectively raised money and then purchased a copy of Jodorowsky's Dune's creative manual, thought they had purchased the rights to make content in Dune. They did not. It's really painful to watch as many very earnest, excited, and imaginative people enter this field without an understanding of how intellectual property law and rights actually exists in the world. Because blockchains and NFTs exist in our world. It's all the same world. If you own the IP, if you are the rights holder, you still own the IP if you're creating NFTs. And you get to determine how your work is licensed, how the IP is licensed in those NFTs, but in a much more specific and detailed way that allows people to engage in a different kind of agreement, that allows you to create new types of relationships that invite people into the world and allow us to explore with an audience that expects that they will be able to live, participate, and affect these story worlds by design. So when you're purchasing an NFT, you have the opportunity to own a piece of the story world. It can provide utility and access, or it can itself represent a part of a bigger story yet to be told. I like to look at what people are already doing. I like to look at how people are taking on these complex questions and relationships that help guide us in conversation, because that's what the development of these new technology spaces really is. I'm going to talk about a few ways that franchises are using NFTs and blockchain technologies to explore new kinds of experience or to create better or different utilities based on behaviors they already work on across digital spaces and more. And what I would really love from you all is get in touch with me, either through the QA or on my Twitter or LinkedIn. I'm very Googleable. And tell me what you think. I really want to hear feedback from you. I really want to hear what your ideas might be and be part of an ongoing conversation, because it's going to take everyone engaging, thinking, and developing to create these systems in a way that works for everyone and allows everyone to participate in this wider idea of a metaverse. So what are franchises already doing? We've got new consumer products. These collections of digital art. We talked about Damien Hirst. This is a new business model and methodology for digital artworks. I remember the difficulties of presenting digital artworks that had been created for decades without virtual reality spaces. The same question applies to how do we really create economic systems that support digital artistry in a way that matches the expectation for physical art and value. So it's a natural fit that NFTs are establishing new collectible product types. For different franchises, they're approaching this in different ways. Some, like Doctor Who, are taking advantage of their very robust archival content to create things like collectible card games. For others, they're looking for new revenue streams. One of the really exciting things about NFTs is, unlike many other physical, digital, new media experiences and waves of new development we've seen before, these are aligned with an economic model where actual transactions are occurring quickly. the value of these collections and their immediate return on investment is quite compelling. So we are seeing people use associated consumer products drop to really gain real world revenue. It's a new line of business for most companies, but it's one where we see consistent success, where a small collection can bring a return on its investment quickly and showcase how this might grow as you engage those buyers, as you engage those owners, as fans who are interested in engaging with you to figure out what can come next, how these collections can grow, and what they want to see next, and knowing they'll invest in it. For promotions and events, this is a great opportunity to reward fan behaviors. This is a great way for people to collect and allow them access to advance their collections, expand rarities, customize, and showcase their dedication and their investment in your story worlds by providing opportunities to collect based on promotional drops, be in physical spaces to collect. We have a big collection that's dropping right now that requires that you see the Batman in theaters at AMC theaters to be able to claim your NFT afterwards. Others, like Proof of Attendance Protocol, will tell you if you were in a physical space to be able to redeem your NFTs. Others, like Space Jam, we're looking for an opportunity to create a moment and create a connection to the characters of the feature film Space Jam: A New Legacy that came out last summer. Over 189,000 NFTs were collected as part of this promotional opportunity. At its peak, an NFT was collected 5 times per second. This was a very familiar social concept where you would be able to redeem your NFT by going to a link, and then by sharing to social, you could redeem a second one. These NFTs were then put into an ecosystem where you could merge them to create more rare versions. And over 12,000 purchases on day one were also done in addition to the NFTs that were collected promotionally. This was something that led to over 146,000 social shares, 146,000 social shares, which built great word of mouth and earned media, and really put paid to the idea that NFTs can be a really substantial part of a promotional launch. Another part that we talk about when we talk about blockchain-based experiences and NFT-fueled experiences are games, play to earn, play to mint. The opportunity to connect these customized and collectible characters to video game concepts is really quite clear. Games like Axie Infinity have multiple $1 billion of revenue based on a few years of action in relatively straightforward and simple game mechanics. Other projects like Duskbreakers, which is created with the participation of new media legend Bernie Sue. They started off their project with a game that allowed some players to play to mint and others to purchase their NFTs directly, providing access both for established NFT collectors and also folks who might not have the funds to go in immediately on a project of this type. Since then, they've steadily established new game experiences, and in their roadmap, you can see how this world is going to grow, not just in terms of games where NFT characters can face off against one another, but in a bigger storyline that you can definitely look at and see a path towards the bigger stories that could exist in web series, film, and television. Other projects look at NFTs because they have this revenue model underneath them as an opportunity for fundraising and definitely for building buzz. The Loot Project is selling NFTs of nouns that will exist in a forthcoming game. By collecting these NFTs, you're going to see them grow over time. These are what are called Genesis tokens, where we have these names on the NFT. And we expect that these will update in the future to showcase concept art. And as they grow, showcase more of the development of this project to this early community of that fundraise the development of that same project. Similarly, Parallel is a massive multiplayer online concept where the characters, the items in the world are being sold as NFTs as part of an initial fundraising process, establishing the desire and interest in this IP, establishing an early community that's going to be dedicated and excited about its growth, and of course, establishing the funding for the development of this new story world. One of the most exciting elements of NFTs is because we have that relationship through the smart contract. Many original projects are looking at this as an opportunity for really revolutionary co-creation. Projects like World of Women and Bored Ape Yacht Club have license relationships in their smart contract that allow for you as an owner to create stories and license around that character itself. UTA has already signed people based on their wallets. Projects like Bored Ape Yacht Club have attracted Universal Music Group, who are looking to create a sort of guerrilla style super group of Bored Ape Yacht Club characters. Timbaland has announced a production company around his Bored Ape Yacht Club Ape. This is a wild way to consider how you invite people into your universe. And while it's deeply compelling for a new intellectual property, it invites other questions as it relates to established properties. One of the Bored Apes has even created a writer's room where they're selling subsidiary NFTs to give access to a publication that UTA is shopping out for publishing as a novel. But when we think about inviting people into our story worlds, where we want to maintain protections around the use of the story worlds or moderate them, all of the same rules of IP still apply. Creating opportunities for walled garden play within a story world are very exciting. Creating opportunities for license that you have the full ability to create with your audience at whatever scale and whatever openness you feel is appropriate for your property are entirely valid in this space. It's not just all or nothing. And when we talk about inviting audiences in and figuring out how to engage with them, we need to play in a lot of different ways to determine what works best for IP and what works best for audiences. So please reach out to me. I'd love to know what you're interested in. I'd love to know what you're working on. And I'd love to hear your thoughts about this environment as well. Wrapping up, established intellectual properties are already using NFTs in new experiences in new ways. And audiences are reacting positively. This is the new generation especially is really expecting a level of participation that goes above and beyond anything we've seen in fans before. New IP can find audiences and initial fundraising using NFT and blockchains in a way that hasn't existed, and even the promise of Kickstarter never saw the same kinds of revenue immediately on demand. And finally, it's creating opportunities to invite your audience into your world. For co-creators who have been working hard to find ways to invite people in and build story worlds together, this is a new opportunity to create ways for us to work together, hear from our audiences, direct worlds together, and still play within really exciting artistic parameters within a story world. Thank you. Thank you for your time today. I'd love to talk more. Feel free to reach out on LinkedIn or Twitter. And if you want to know more, we have a much more robust version of this non-fungible relationship study up on palm.io now. So let me know. And thank you again to USC and Philip. Thank you for inviting me to be part of today.